Just when you think you're ready to count this team out, the Flames pull you right back in with another come-from-behind win.
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the come-from-behind shootout win against Colorado and what this means for the team and what it says about their play and their style of hockey, as well as examine the playoff odds and, of course, take a look at the single-digit games the Flames have remaining. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. So I don't think that I would have believed you if you said, yeah, the Flames win in a shootout against the Avalanche, but it's Ryan Lomberg and Adam Klapka who score in regulation, and then Sharangovich with the shootout winner. I wouldn't have believed you. I would have said, thank you so much for an early April Fool's joke. See you next year. But that's what happened. It is what happened. I thought that the Flames played pretty well through the first period. The second period is where it kind of crumbled. I honestly, had Vladar not played as well as he did, the Flames would not have sniffed any sort of extra hockey. I think that just the motivation of proving everyone wrong and the belief that this group has in themselves is enough to keep them going until game 82, if that's what it comes down to, in order for them to make the playoffs. And I do feel like that's a good thing, because you want a team that isn't taking their foot off the gas in those high pressure situations. But that wasn't the goal this year. So I really wouldn't blame them if they're tired. A lot of these players have had to do extra work to pick up for what is no longer there, or they've taken on more responsibility. But overall, like, this team, they just find a way to pull you back in. And honestly, even on yesterday's episode, I was like, oh yeah, like, they're 7 points out. There's 9 games remaining. It doesn't really make sense. Like, it's okay if they miss the playoffs. Like, that's what it's looking like at this point. And then when they prove that they can come from behind like that against a very good team, I suddenly want I want to recant every statement. And then I'm sure tomorrow I will be saying the opposite about today. So it's just the wishy-washiness, the consistently inconsistent Calgary Flames keeping you on your toes and just keeping you on the edge of your seat until the final credits roll. But one big thing I wanted to touch on was Dan Vladar. Dan Vladar has had a pretty good season, I would say. Sure, if you look at his save percentage, an .895 isn't really great, and a .286 goals against average, not necessarily great. But what is great are the saves that he makes and the athleticism that is on display when he is in net. And I don't feel as I feel more confident than I did, say, at the beginning of the season with him starting these games. I think the Flames have had a pretty good, tandem, little rotation going between Wolf and Vladar all season long. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Flames extend him. I think that he's been a pretty solid backup for the rookie goaltender who is, eventually going to be starting like 50 games a season. I mean, as of right now, Wolf has played 45 and Vladar has played 29. To me, that is a very fair workload. It's better than what Vladar got when Sutter was coaching the team and just riding Jacob Markstrom into the ground. But I also think that Vladar has grown as a goaltender. Every single goaltender that comes through the Calgary system has complemented the goalie team, the goalie coaching team, and how different it is and how it is a state of the art. They're experts. They know their stuff. And I think that that's so important for, everyone to remember, because, the Flames, they might be lacking in other categories, but they do have some pretty solid goaltending and goaltending mentors to learn from. I'd be fine if the Flames extended him. He's only 27. I mean, I'm not talking long term, but I do think that, another 2 years of him backing up Wolf and then reevaluate the situation, especially where Cooley has, struggled since his injury earlier this season. I mean, set your team up for success if that's really what they want to do, or if they want to take the risky route, they can let Vladar walk in free agency and test the waters with another backup goaltender. I had seen someone say David Riddick, bring him back. I don't know how that would work. I feel like there's nothing wrong with being an emotional player, but I feel like the atmosphere in Calgary was a little too much for him. But then now he's playing in LA, so maybe the growth has occurred, and Craig Conroy knows what to do. I have faith in him when it comes to this. And either way, Dustin Wolf is going to be set up. And I personally think that I would like to see Dan Vladar back. Just backing him up. I think it's a fair transition. Don't change too much. Change what is absolutely necessary. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the Flames' playoff hopes, what the models have them at, and what do you do when some of your best players are absolutely banged up and torn to shreds. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all of my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is very easy to lose track of money. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it is a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts and investments and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Instead of juggling the multiple apps, you can use Monarch Money to check your finances and manage all of your spending. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money and use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off of your first year. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you're getting your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's jump right into this because the Flames aren't out of the playoffs. The odds, the percentages are not at zero, which means there's always room. Money Puck currently has them at 22.7%. So I'm rounding up and saying 23%. Not that that makes a large difference, but they have a chance to close the gap to just 3 points if St. Louis loses tonight and the Flames win against Utah. I think that eventually the St. Louis Blues have to run out of gas, right? That's how it works, I believe. At some point, you just kind of hit a wall. And I mean, hey, maybe the momentum, it carries them over into the playoffs and then they hit a wall. I don't know. But I think the Flames, while they're on the second half of this back-to-back, probably going to be a little tired, have that excitement, that adrenaline, that push, that rush to make tonight a lot easier than last night. We know that Utah has a lot of talent, and we know that the Flames don't necessarily have that same scoring talent. So they're going to have to play smart hockey, and they're going to have to continue finding ways to score. And it's not just going to be, they're going to have to try really hard in order to score because Connor Zary is not there to finish most of your shots. Your net front presence is it's still there, but certain players like Connor Zary just takes command of it. And I wish that the Flames had more of that. I think that if Huberdeau and Coronado score tonight, either one of them, it's a win. I think that for whatever reason, whenever those two score, the blood is just it gets pumping. The team suddenly remembers that they're playing professional hockey and they have to take this to the next level. So I think that is a likely situation here. Do I think it'll be a walk in the park? Probably not. But I do feel like it's going to be easier in terms of wrapping it up in regulation than last night. I think the Flames are probably going to be extra motivated to wrap it up and get on that plane back to Calgary or, one more night at the hotel and then off to Calgary in the morning or whatever the case may be. They are almost there. They are almost there. And I'm sure they're nitpicking every single loss, every single turnover, every single goal they were on the ice for. Defense, not playing defense. Maybe Dustin Wolf is watching film of the games against St. Louis, trying to figure out what he could have done differently. Not that it really matters now, but there's no way that this team isn't, I don't want to say in their heads because it makes it sound negative, but they are very aware of what is going on. They know what they need to play for. They know what they need to fight for. They know what they need to do out on that ice. I think that they can do it, but I don't know if they can do it when another team's on the ice. That's the other question. That is the $1 million question. And I think that the other question is, how do you handle this fight to the finish line when Rasmus Andersson is banged up? It is fairly obvious he is dealing with something. Michael Backlund is dealing with something. Blake Coleman, who I can't even imagine, his poor legs must be so swollen after blocking all of those shots. And of course, Connor Zary being out. So, and those are just what we know about at the moment. Is it worth pushing these guys through the playoffs? It's probably going to be just 4 or 5 more extra games, but that's still more wear and tear on their body. And I don't necessarily think that their egos want to get dog walked. And I don't blame them in the slightest. I think that it's, it's fair to say, like, I don't think they're checking out by any means. I think that they want to make the playoffs. I think that that is the goal for every team, but especially a team that is in the same in the position of the Calgary Flames in terms of rebuilding, retooling, whatever we're calling it. I still don't know what we're calling it 2 years later. But is it worth watching these guys put themselves through this for a few extra games? Like, you're likely not making it out of the first round. I hate to say it, but there's just a slim chance. And when you have your top pairing defenseman out and dinged up, and no, I don't even want to say dinged up. I feel like he is banged up completely. Like, if he was a car, he would be like dented, scratched, fender hanging off. Oh, you wanted a door handle? Surprise, it breaks off. And it's not a shot at him by any means. It's, the way he plays and what he does to help the team. But I feel like you have to have the conversation of, when does a player's game become, more of a disadvantage to the team? And we talk about this a lot every playoff season, because there are players that hurt their team by being on the ice when they're injured. Doesn't matter if they are the best player or, a middle of the road guy. Sometimes it does more harm than good. But coming up next, we're going to talk about the 8 games that the Flames have left and why all of these points truly matter. And are we going to see Jonathan Huberdeau hit 30 goals? Can we please have a crumb of vintage Huberdeau? Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has grams of protein, or each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I really love the convenience of the no shells. This just the plain salted ones. They're super easy to grab and go while I'm at work, if I want to snack at the house, or if I just need something quick in between covering hockey and getting home. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Just Belmosto. I think we have to look at this and say, we have made it. This season, going into the season, the expectation was unwatchable hockey. Unbearable hockey. The Sharks were projected to be better than the Flames. Guess what? Did not happen. Dustin Wolf did the Flames a favor and carried them through this season. I think that, would another top 10 draft pick be nice? 100%. And that's what's going to take this team eventually to the next level. But for right now, it is done. It is almost done and over with. There's nothing you can do to change it. So just let's take in the potential positives of the season ending. There are 8 games left after tonight. After the puck, or the buzzer sounds, the end of 60 minutes, the Flames have 8 games left. I don't know where this season went. It has been quite the ride. We're down to single digits. Every point matters throughout the season, but they do take on the Minnesota Wild at home next week. And right now, the Wild have that top wildcard spot. As I'm recording this, the Wild have 88 points, while the Flames have 82, and of course, St. Louis is 87. But I want the Flames to really take all of this into consideration. You have worked this hard. Can you do it? Can you pull it off? I mean, personally, there's no love lost, whether you make the playoffs or you miss. Yeah, it stinks. The draft pick doesn't necessarily feel like middle of the road. Draft pick doesn't really do anything. But your young guys got more experience during the season and knows what it takes to play a complete season and get to the playoffs. That is a different beast. The Flames are fully aware of what is at stake. Not just tonight, not just the next game, not just the game against the Wild, but every single game since the Four Nations break. That 6-game road trip could have gone a little better. It also could have gone a lot worse, depending on how you look at things. So, it's not for a lack of trying. They have worked very hard this season. Do I think that there are players underperforming? Yes, absolutely. Do I think at some point we have to look at the coaches' systems and see what's just not working anymore? Yeah, but it's the start of April. There's no reason to change now. I don't necessarily see it making a lot of sense, but I think Connor Zary being out is having a huge impact on them. He is a young, fast player that thinks quickly on his feet, that can score, has that finishing touch, and that's what the Flames are missing. And we need to see more of it. And I really hope that Zary is okay. First and foremost, if he doesn't get to play for the rest of this season, I wish him a very speedy recovery this offseason, and hopefully everything goes well. No news is good news, but at the same time, you can let your mind wander and be like, well, is it because he just hasn't been scheduled for surgery yet? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's been long enough. And I'm pretty sure the doctors that they use don't have waiting lists. And if they do, I'm pretty sure professional athletes will get priority over you or I. But you need to see everyone stepping up. You need to see, you saw the fourth line step up last night. 100%. Sharangovich got in the mix of things. You need to see, Jonathan Huberdeau. Are you going to hit 30 goals? Are you? I think you should. You're 3 goals away. Why not? Matt Coronado. He has had a tremendous season this year. I do not care what anyone says. This was unexpected for him. Morgan Frost, Joel Farabee. I want to see more from them. I think that both of them are good players, fit in well with the group. But there is still work that needs to be done. But that will do it for me on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic evening and enjoy watching the Flames take on the Utah Hockey Club tonight. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. You're subscribed to the show wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. And I will see you all tomorrow, and maybe the playoff picture will be slightly clearer. Bye-bye.